One idea I had a few months ago was there's a masculinity crisis in the West, and like men feel, in my mind, justifiably like they've been left behind by their system, and they also don't have good role models. And I think positioning Israel as a model for positive masculinity, in that it's assertive, it's going it's willing to go to do what it takes and be both proactive but also confrontational, which is something I feel is missing from masculinity in the West. And if you get them to, God, I really wish Israel was the good guy so that I could actually have a model. And then you show them the data that, oh, good news, Israel actually is the good guy and you've been lied to, then they'll be convinced. So that's my personal position on that. We need to find a way to do that with regards to Iran, but also I have a clear differentiation between updating beliefs and updating behavior based on interest, which I think Armin also touched on. So there are many people personally in the governments in the West that know everything that's going on because they have good intelligence, but they don't find it expedient to act on those beliefs properly. And so that's also something we need to differentiate. And lastly, Ian mentioned something that I very much agree with, that we need to have a good database of resources that people can go to and find whatever they need from.
Guy, when you talk about masculinity, are you saying we should highlight the achievements of the Israeli military and contrast with the Western European countries, which, to use
Yeah.
military terminology, are cucks?
Yes, we're going to be basically we're saying Israel is alpha and European countries are beta. That's what we're going with, right? No.
That's the message.
Right.
That's one way of saying it. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, Noah, go ahead.
Guy, you are absolutely right about the masculinity problem. My pastor, he's he talks about that all the time, how the West and as a society as a whole, in America at least, we have a masculinity problem. We have a lot of, and we need to correct that. But my main thing I wanted to reply was, I think it was Ian, he was talking about Iranians should be speaking and writing in English. They are writing in English. That's not the problem. The problem is the people in the West, in Canada, the United States, Britain, who they follow, whether it be influencers or news organizations. And those influencers and stuff, they're very anti-Israel, or they're very anti-America at this point, and it's a shame. And sadly, those people will then look at it and be like, okay, then Israel's the bad guy, America's the bad guy, and all that. So
Can
it's
I
such a that's the problem.
can I respond to you a little?
Yeah, I can't.
What
Yeah,
what I'm suggesting is really a Trojan horse attack, right? If we know their barriers to, if they're listening to, I don't know, Hassan Piker or something like that, right? Then they're not going to listen to Goldie. I'm sorry to say it, but they might listen to some random Iranian person coming up on their feed. And so, what I'm really suggesting is arming those people with content that they can use to break down the barrier and basically show people what is the humanitarian concern and what is the problem with the IRGC. And the reason that I'm suggesting that, I know people are writing in English and stuff like that. I don't think a lot of the video coming from Iranian people is in English, and that's because they don't speak English, but many of them speak enough that they can deliver their message in English. And that's, I think, why Petito gave this statement. He did it in English because he wants the outside world to hear that message. And I think that's really powerful. And we should encourage more people to do it, not because we want them to speak English, but because we need their message to get to the people that can help them support the effort to create external pressure on the regime. So that's why I'm suggesting that tactic is really important. But it's just a tactic. It's not. There's no good reason for it. The reason for it is to get the message to people very quickly. And so, what you can do is you can say to your friends inside Iran, here are the guidelines. If you want people outside to hear this message, here is how you present it. And that's all I'm suggesting.
The best way I have for my friends at least is I've shared Iran International. I said this is the best source. Armin's also an amazing source. Goldie's an amazing source. You might not agree with them politically, but at the same time, because sadly I have leftist friends. I love them, but that's just the way it is. But they have also cared about Iran and and the majority of them have actually are sympathetic to the Iranian people. Now they're not a fan of the war, but that's a different story. But at least I'm sharing them those correct sources instead of, oh yeah, you should look at MS Now or MSNBC or TYT, which is trash. But yeah, that's the best we can do is share the right content. Armin, you could probably add to that, but I'm
All right, guys, we need to move on a little bit faster
sorry.
because I want to make sure we get to other people as well. No,
Sorry.
that's okay. No, don't be sorry. I'm just telling you, don't be sorry. And guys, again, I saw some new people here. If you want to speak, just put a one in the chat and you will be added to the list to speak. Okay, Danny.
Jeffrey and Dila, I want to respond in that order, please. Jeffrey.
And yeah,
You
and
know what,
also,
go
if it's yeah, go on. Yeah, go on.
He's making pass over me gestures.
Oh,
Okay,
okay.
Ila.
Hi. Yeah, I want to say something. I'm not saying you're wrong, you're all correct. But in my activism, I understood that I have limited sources and I stopped trying to convince the unconvincible and I focused more about convincing the people that understand me already to do more actions or to help them, target them, navigate them to a specific thing every week that we are trying to do. And if I want to attack my biggest opponents, I go to the source. I go to the politician that has the key to it, and I target him in my actions, in my words. But I don't do low rank people, everyday opponents, as it just can just wear you down. And about the Iranian people, I think once the internet come back, we think, what do they really need? Maybe they need a Krav Maga guy just to protect themselves. Maybe they will be fighting on the street. I hope it's going to be a hacker war. Maybe they will need other stuff. I don't know. We think maybe we need to think more practical than what we will tell them to do for us to help whatever. Too long.
Okay. Just before we move to the next person, guys, there's a chance that the internet in Iran is not going to come back until we topple the regime. We have to also take that into account. Right now, there's so many people who are making so much money from the internet being cut and just selling access to internet at really high prices that it has turned into its own mafia thing. And there's so many people making so much money off of it that those people probably might never want to turn the internet back on ever again. But I do want to, Jeffrey, you wanted to add something quickly?
Just
before we
real
move
quick,
on?
because what you said right there. Well, who's to say we can't have anti-mullah elements, the anti-mullah diaspora get in on that action to both filter away revenue streams from pro-mullah douchebags and provide revenue streams to support the anti-mullah efforts like non-lesser and kinetic lines of effort.
Because the infrastructure is controlled by the IRGC. Like they have the buildings where the servers are and everything. Yeah.
You meant within Iran.
Yeah. Okay.